Greetings, Series 7 test takers. This is Dean Kinney. I'm coming to you from my studio here in fabulous Las Vegas. I wanted to put something up on an area that Series 7 test takers sometimes get hung up on. They think that short or credit means bearish. And more often than not, that's correct. But there are a couple situations in which you have to be a little more careful because there are indeed short or credit bullish option positions or strategies. And so that's what I'm going to share with you here shortly. And it's always the puts that people get hung up on. So for whatever reason, that makes you feel better. I'll probably do a opposite version of this where debit does not mean long and show you some long bearish positions. But that's the game plan for this little short video. So a lot of ways to go, a lot of ways to do things. I have a process. You should have a process. Whatever your process is that works for you is fine. What I always like to do is underneath the options leg, not test left, called an option leg, is particularly on puts, just be real comfortable with what I'm looking at. And what I'm looking at here is an obligation to buy the stock at the strike price. That's what that is. And I said that for 9 points, I'd be a potential victim. I think of the person who is short an option contract as a potential victim. So I do a point per share. You can do any way you want. If you want to put $900 in there, that's fine. If it's 10, you want to put 9,000 in there, that's fine. But, then you have all kinds of zeros floating around, which I think can be kind of a mental mess. And break even itself is expressed as a per share. So I'm a believer in doing it per share. And then when you're all done, just look and see what you're being asked. So here, I'm obliged to buy the stock at 175. And break even is ultimately the number that makes the columns balance. So, if you want, you can just memorize that the break even in puts is strike price. XP means strike price minus premium equals break even. And here the strike price is 175 minus 9 equals our break even of 166. Now, but if you get good at the T, the other thing you can do is just, chop your answer set, and you know that you're looking for an answer being offered to you that if you plugged it in would make the columns balance. So that's another way to proceed. If you get good at tracking money, dollars out and dollars in, you don't need to memorize anything. And here, again, what people get hung up on, let me just show you here, is I need a number that if I plug it in here, I close out, would make the columns balance, because that's what break even is, right? So that's what that is. And if we plug in 166, we have the same dollars out as dollars in. That's what break even is. Now, again, the T is also helpful because if you get good at tracking money, then you don't get bogged down in phraseology. So, phraseology might be on the test. Your customer shorts one Apple July 175 put at 9. When Apple's at 174, who cares? At expiration, Apple's 175. He exercises, gets exercised, and you got to say, okay, that means he bought at 175. Sells the stock in the open market. So that's the 166. So the T is also helpful if you got like 3 things that are going on trying to close this out. My max gain is pretty straightforward. Again, this is a bullish transaction. Short credit does not necessarily mean bearish. This is an example of a bullish transaction. What I'm hoping is that Apple is 175 or higher. And I'm hoping that the contract, or if it was more than one contract, so in this case contract, expires worthless. That would be ideal for me. That's my best case scenario. Oh, looks like I missed an R there. Oh well. Expires worthless, 0. And then my max loss is when I have to perform on the contract and I have to buy the stock at 175, and that stock is worthless. That would be my worst case scenario. And a lot of ways to go here. If you want, you can memorize it's the break even 166 per share, 100 shares, 16,600. You could know strike price 175 minus 9 to 0, 166. Break even to 0. A lot of ways to think about that. Whatever kind of way floats your boat is fine. Now, what you might want to consider is review here. Your bullish, your break even's 166. You want the market price of Apple above 166. Max gain is the premium. Max loss of the premium. Max loss when it goes to 0. The problem you have is no floor here. And so what you might strongly want to consider to be a little smarter bull here is offsetting your obligation to sell with a choice. Your obligation to buy with a choice to sell the stock. That way, if somebody sticks it to you, you can stick it to the next guy. As it stands right now, I have to buy the stock at 175. That stock may be worthless, in terms of my worst case scenario here. Boom. So what I might want to do is take some of my money and buy a lower strike put just in case. That way, if it blows up and somebody sticks it to me, I can stick it to the next guy. And so here, what I would do, again, my process, I like to put, what am I looking at? Particularly when I'm looking at puts, because puts can really get you upside down pretty quickly. So this is an obligation to buy the stock at the strike price. XP means strike price. And this is a choice or right to sell or put the stock at the strike price, right? To sell the stock at the strike price. So by the way, I didn't have to say short or long. Remember, the other word for short is you sold one Apple July 175 put at 9 and bought one Apple. That would be the same language. So it's like learning a foreign language. They say when you dream the foreign language, that's when you know it. And so then what I want to do is track the money again. And this is going to be 9 in. And this is going to be 2 out. And so one thing you got to be able to do is identify this is a spread. We've identified this as a spread as we go along and short the same type of option. And here we have established this spread for a net credit of 7. So instead of bringing in 9 now, I only brought in 7 because I spent some money. So when I net those two numbers, that net credit is 7. By the way, you can use that in the T. What I mean by that is if you want, you could just put this here and say, boom, let me get some bigger font. This is money in. And this is money out. So whether you're doing it through the T or just doing that. Now, one of the things I should know is that the gain and the loss always equals the difference in the strike. So there is 10 points to be made or lost here. So the gain and the loss always equals the difference in the strikes. And once we've established this is a credit, so we've established this as a credit, we got brought in 9. Let's put that in here. Whoop, font. Boom. And boom. And what we want to have happen is the contracts to expire. If the contracts expire worthless, let me get an arrow here. Boom. If this one expires and this one expires, the difference in the premiums would have narrowed from 7 would have narrowed from 7 to 0. That's the hardest part to get. You don't really need to get it because credit, expire, narrow goes together all the time. So when I did this spread, the difference was 7. Now the difference is 0, right? The difference was, let me just get out my little drawing tool here, right? So now the difference is 0 and it was 7. Hardest part to get, don't need to get it. By the way, if that was, if the stock was, for example, 174, the 165 put would be worthless. 175 would be 1. It would narrowed from 7 to 1. I'd make 6. Hardest part to get, don't need to get it. So we've determined this is a credit spread. We've determined that we want the contracts to expire so we can make our max gain. We want the difference in the premiums to narrow. And then break even, again, you can either memorize break evens. If you want to memorize break evens here, you're going to remember push. And that stands for put subtract from the higher. We're going to take the higher strike, which in this case is 175. And remember, it's kind of very similar. So look familiar. It's 175, not 9. Because we don't have 9 anymore. All we have is 7. So 175 minus 7 means our break even is going to be 168. And again, I'm just going to illustrate that to you. So, you know, the larger premium dominates the position. The larger premium dominates the position. And so here, remember, this is what we started with, and that's our larger premium. And so this is ultimately a bullish transaction. It's a credit put spread. We're working on this little lecture is about short credit positions that are bullish. Now, if this blows up, I'm going to have to buy the stock at 175. Somebody's going to stick it to me at 175. So if I just plug that in there, I'm just illustrating it again. The break even is 168, right? So if somebody makes me buy that stock at 175, and then I can sell it in the open market for 168. It looks like I have the same dollars out as dollars in, right? So I'm just illustrating that indeed that is the break even because that is the dominant leg is my obligation to buy. So again, if you got good at tracking the money, you could just look at A, B, C, D and see, you know, which one makes it work. So again, that would be our break even. Then bullish or bearish, we said the larger premium dominates, and the larger premium here is a short put. Now, in terms of maximum loss, so we said the gain and the loss equals the difference in the strikes. The gain and the loss equals the difference in the strikes. So we said our net credit is our maximum gain, and I illustrated that to you. When I said the premiums expire worthless, that was the middle T that we're working on, dollars out versus dollars in. And you could just memorize this if you'd like. It's 3 points here. Now, if you don't want to memorize it, if you don't want to memorize it, what I mean by that is on the test, as a good test taker, you should eliminate any two numbers that don't add up to 10. The maximum gain, maximum loss, and spread always equals the difference in the strikes, whatever that is. So there's 10 points to be made or lost. I've collected 7. So that is going to be my max loss. Let's just put that there. A smaller font. And again, that is the difference in the strikes. So let's put that up here. Again, we have whole lectures on this, so I wouldn't worry too much if you want, there's an advanced option. I'll probably link to that. I'll timestamp this. There's lots of stuff available. Now, again, I'm just going to illustrate that over here in the T. So the last thing we want to kind of look at is this idea of the max loss. And that's the whole point of doing a spread. I think of options about floors and ceilings. I'm saying I only want to play between 175, 165. All the action takes place between the strikes. And so as you recall, here is my, whoop, let me get a bigger font. Here is my 9 points that I brought in. And here is my 2 points I paid out. And then again, we said the worst case is I'm going to buy the stock at 175. Somebody's going to make me perform on this contract. Now, remember, the good news here is it used to be the floor was 0. But now the neat thing is the floor is not 0. Because if somebody sticks it to me at 175, I'm going to stick it to the next guy. I'm going to exercise my 165 put. And if we net those 2 columns out, that's my max loss, is that 10 points less the 7. As you see here, whoop, let me get green there because that's going to be money in. Somebody sticks it to me at 165, I stick it to the next guy at 165, and that's the worst case scenario. If we look at those columns, we total up, the difference between those 2 numbers is 10 points, right? So 177 and what is that, 174. So that'll be my worst case scenario, is that 10 points less the 7. So just illustrating again that that's a loss. Anyways, hope you found that helpful. Again, I'll probably do another little one like this, where what we show you is that the debit and long doesn't always mean bullish. And that would be the flip side of this lecture. So you can look forward to that. And I'll see you next time. Feel free to join us for our weekly FINRA NASA live free Q&A. So talk to you there. Bye-bye.